Dennis Cox and Chris Lee about to dig in the crates. So turn it up, cause it's time for the culture state. Yeah, we do it for the culture, home of the greats. In the Carolina hood from the culture state. Chris Lee and Dennis Cox about to dig in the crates. So turn it up, cause it's time for the culture state. It's a Carolina state of mind.
Hey, we're both tired from Charlotte, North Carolina, but that doesn't mean that the culture state stops.
That's right.
We need to give you all this content, and here we are giving you this content. I'm Chris Lee. That is my man, Dennis Jamel Cox. And, we had a great time down in Charlotte. The team who's from the state of North Carolina did not walk away with the ACC Championship.
Nope.
That made us kind of sad.
It did.
However, I am very much so happy for those kids that got a chance to play in that game, and also the few North Carolina natives who play for Clemson, like KJ Henry and a few others who are now ACC champions. So there's always a bright side. Always a bright side.
I knew you were going to mention KJ Henry because he's from the 336. I knew it. I knew it was going to happen.
I mean, I have to. You know what I'm saying?
That's fair. I respect it.
It's mandatory. And in full transparency, me and his mom talk, often. And so she'll hit me up. I'll hit her up. She'll ask me questions. I'll ask, how they're doing. And look out. He has a younger brother by the name of Isaiah Henry, who is going to be a great basketball player.
Okay.
I think he's either a sophomore or junior right now in high school, getting recruited by different ACC schools. He's already done unofficials to NC State and Clemson and those types of schools. So the Henry family keeps it going, and they also have a daughter. I don't think she's still in sports anymore, but she's at A&T. So yeah, I mean, I keep in contact with the Henry family. That's one of the reasons I have to bring it up.
Okay, I respect it. But KJ is a heck of a player. One heck of a player for Clemson.
Well, I think one of my highlights, which is kind of a low light for some, but just from my perspective, when Carolina did lose the ACC championship game, I was on. We were on the field, and I individually wanted to make sure I found a few people, and I didn't find everybody that I could from the 336, but I did, or from North Carolina in general, I should say that. But I did find Javari Ritzy from North Carolina.
Okay.
One of the defensive linemen. Went up to him, said, "Hey, I'm proud of you. Good job." Saw Travis Shaw. He's from Greensboro. "Hey, Travis, good job. I'm proud of you." And it was interesting. Travis was one of the few North Carolina players that stayed on the field while Clemson was celebrating, just looking from the tunnel up at the big board, taking it in. And it was almost like, all right, I want to know what that feeling is like. So when we try to get here again next year, I can use that as fuel. That's what it looked like to me.
Yeah.
And then I did get a chance to say, congratulations to KJ on the field. And I think that's what it's all about. Those kids who are living their dreams and doing it at a big level. And that brings me to the interesting part where online a lot of people are saying how unlucky University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, how unlucky their sports are. And it's funny because me and you spoke to Bubba Cunningham.
Better get that right.
Bubba Cunningham.
You're going to hear that conversation with Bubba Cunningham here in a little bit, by the way.
We had a conversation with Bubba Cunningham in Charlotte. Really good conversation.
Yeah.
About how good things were going for North Carolina, right?
Yeah.
They've won a couple national championships in other sports this year. You've had the basketball team play for a national championship, even though they lost. You had the women's soccer team play for a national championship, even though they lost. And you had the football team that's played for an ACC football championship, even though they lost. But you can look at it from the perspective of Carolina sports is dominating right now. And if you're a Tar Heels fan, there's a lot to cheer for still.
Yeah, there's a lot to cheer for. Okay, good. Football kind of screeched to a halt to the finish line, I guess you could say, to finish out the regular season and the ACC championship game. Basketball, okay, as of this recording, has lost 4 straight games, but it's early December. They're going to be fine. But like you mentioned, in this calendar year, 2022, they won a women's lacrosse national championship where they went undefeated, and they beat the reigning champions in Boston College. Also won an ACC championship as well in women's lacrosse. Field hockey national championship again. So again, also women's lacrosse was a national champion again, something they've won in recent years. Like you mentioned, Basketball got to a national championship game. Heck, getting to a Final Four alone, but you beat Coach K in Cameron and in the Final Four along the way. Yeah, and your football team, who wasn't supposed to be in the ACC Championship, was there. You're doing okay. You're doing fine. And your women's soccer program, who's been dominant, they've won 21 national championships out of 42 tournaments that have taken place. Sorry you came runner-up. Either way, you got to national championship game. You're doing just fine.
Yeah.
You're doing just fine.
Yeah, I think it's all a matter of perspective, and I think every school has something to complain about, right?
Sure.
But if
Have you met NC State?
You said what?
Have you met NC State?
Yeah, every school has something to complain about. Every school has something to complain about. But if you look at how things have gone this year for, I would say add in all the ACC schools in North Carolina, Duke, North Carolina, NC State, Wake Forest. It's been a pretty good year for everybody all around. Now, of course, there are some programs you can pick out. Men's basketball for NC State having a little rough patch. Women's basketball for Wake Forest having a rough patch. The way Duke went out this past season. Okay, there are things you can point out. But overall, if you think about it, there are programs here that people want to come to. Mm-hmm. So as this transfer portal is starting to open up, and yes, we're going to see names from these schools go to the portal. We already have. But there's going to be just as many names or maybe even more that's going to want to come replace those people here from other programs, maybe programs as big as Alabama, and they look at North Carolina, I can go get playing time there. Yeah. So you just never know.
I mean, look at Brady Manick in basketball as a starter at Oklahoma, comes to North Carolina, was the key linchpin for that team last season that made a run to the national championship game. So, yeah, people want to come here, especially sports like basketball and football. Yeah, come on now. Things are like the transfer portal thing, that's a whole other conversation, which we can have on Saturday. But people are going to want to come play basketball at Duke. People are going to want to come play basketball at North Carolina. Come on now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those schools are going to be just fine.
They're going to be just fine. And you have NC State and NC State and UNC women's basketball both in the top 10.
Yep.
UNC men's basketball fell out of the top 25, but that's okay. We got a feeling they'll probably be back in the top 25 at a certain point.
They'll be fine.
In an NCAA tournament. Duke is doing fine. Things are okay. NC State's basketball team is doing well this year, looking really good with the new additions and DJ Burns, Jarkel Joyner, and others. So, things will be fine. We had a really good discussion with Bubba Cunningham. You want to tee this up, Dennis?
Absolutely. So on Saturday, on Culture State Saturday, Bubba Cunningham gave us his time. Stopped by on set when we were at ACC Fan Fest in Charlotte this past Saturday. So Bubba Cunningham came. He joined us. We talked about not only the transfer portal, NIL, but also how the school can provide the financial education that these young athletes need when it comes to NIL and things, and the money that they are receiving for their name, image, and likeness. So on the other side, Bubba Cunningham, UNC Athletic Director.
It's been a busy weekend for you, or just really a busy fall. Field Hockey National Championship. You were in Cary yesterday watching the UNC women's soccer team, your soccer team, advance to the championship game. And now you're here today for a conference championship game for football. It's been busy for you.
It's been great.
But it's been good.
And people talk about the crossover parts of seasons, my favorite time of year. Because you get to go to everything, and everyone's having success right now. So it's really a lot of fun. And not to mention, we got a little USA soccer going on, coached by a Tar Heel.
Exactly.
So we do have all kinds of stuff going on. And we're right here in front of Truist Field with the Christmas lights and the whole display that they have. So it's great to be down here in Charlotte, great to be in the game, and I'm fortunate to be with you guys this morning. So thank you.
Thank you. Football team hasn't won a championship since 1980. What would a win tonight mean, not only just for the program, but just for your athletic department as a whole?
Well, Coach Brown has done a terrific job since he's been back. He's brought in incredible student athletes. He has great coaching staff. It means an awful lot to our department, for all of our teams to be successful, and for football to be playing for a championship means a great deal to the university. We're going to have a ton of fans down here. We'll have a lot of students down here. We're in the middle of finals, but it is very important. And that's what I think is really great about Carolina. We celebrate all of our sports.
Yeah.
And football obviously is the most visible program in the country in the fall. Then we transition to basketball. But as you mentioned, the field hockeys, the lacrosses, the soccers, we celebrate all those, and it's an honor for me to be a part of the program.
National championship in women's lacrosse, by the way. I'd like to point that out.
I missed. Yeah, it's only Jenny's third, so it was hard for me to remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to know
Not
from
undefeated, by the way.
Yeah.
from the athletic department standpoint, from the metrics and the different things that you have to trace and look at. When, of course, in North Carolina, you think about basketball, but when football is good and they're competing for championships, how does that help the athletic department as a whole?
It's really important. Now, as I mentioned, we have 28 teams, and I really try to be consistent in how we talk about goals for all of our teams. So I actually asked for 3 goals in 6 different areas from all 28 teams, and they're all the same. So I want to talk about what we can do competitively, academically, what do we do from a community service standpoint, financially, from a compliance standpoint, and then number 1, what's our student-athlete experience?
Mm-hmm.
So give me 3 goals in those 6 areas. But we know that football and basketball drive the economic engine of what we do. Obviously, they have to win. But I want all of our students to have an incredible experience and be knitted together because of that Carolina experience.
Speaking of that economic engine, we're seeing the landscape of college athletics changing with name, image, and likeness for student athletes. Coach Mac Brown spoke about it earlier this week about you hear about tampering and stuff a lot, whether it's a third party coming in from another school. It's happening. We all do. Hey, this is what.
Or you can send a kid a DM or something.
Exactly. You can send exactly. Or a kid has an agent. How do you all as an athletic department, but really how can the NCAA or anybody help prevent against these tampering? You're not going to completely stop it because it was happening with transfers even before there was NIL. But how can you help maybe slow it down a little bit? So I know Mac Brown mentioned that there's a starter, he said, has 15 offers from other schools to go play for them.
Yeah, I really feel for our coaches right now. Managing the roster is incredibly hard. The NIL, the transfer portal, the ability to make sure you know who's going to be on your team next year is really hard. And I really feel for them. But I do think within 3 to 4 years, it will kind of peak and settle out. We're going to get a new president of the NCAA within the next couple of months. We're going to hopefully narrow down some of the committee structure that we have so we have more of a commissioner feel in that presidential position, so that we can make more rules that really impact students in a more positive way. Because there is somewhat, I don't want to say chaos, but it's not as orderly as it used to be. And we have to figure that out. So I just ask our coaches to be patient.
Mm-hmm.
Be patient as you can. I know it's not easy, and you're going to lose kids, and we're going to get some kids. But we have to, as administrators, figure out a better path. We're being driven by courts.
Yep.
So we've lost 2 cases in the Supreme Court. We have a number of other cases in federal court throughout the United States. We have the National Labor Relations Board talking to us about what we should be doing, and should these student athletes be employees? And we say, well, which ones? Because not all of them are in sports that generate money.
Yeah.
And what about Title IX and gender equity?
And
so,
not all of them are full-time scholarship athletes.
Correct. So we have a whole myriad of questions that we have to have answered before we can really say this is the path forward. But I had to send a letter out. Yes, I didn't have to. I sent a letter out yesterday telling our fans it's okay to participate in NIL.
Yeah.
It's the new norm of where we are. So yes, we need help with facilities. We need help with scholarships. And the students need some support on NIL. So we have a couple of collectives. We want our donors to think about where are their priorities, they as a donor, and how does that line up with what we need as an institution, and we'll match our donors with the need. So NIL becomes an important pillar of what we're doing in college athletics today. So our donors have been great. We have a number of collectives, and we also have an exchange for all of our student athletes to participate in NIL. Doesn't solve the coach's problem, and I get that. And mine is more philosophical. Theirs is more practical. And we have to get these things closer together.
Are they trying to expand their staff a little bit more just so they can have somebody who can look at the portal itself?
Oh, yeah. Well, we have an incredible recruiting staff led by Pat Sudis, and they do a great job. They have to look at high school kids. They have to look at the portal. They have to try to manage our roster, look at other schools and what they're doing, and it makes it harder. And what I worry about, and Coach Brown and I talked about this yesterday, is if we continue to recruit out of the portal, and others do, it's going to hurt the high school kid.
Yeah.
And football is the only sport we have left in college where the primary place to recruit are the high school teams.
Yes.
Everyone else is out of a club or some other travel group. And if we continue to do what we're doing today, we're going to hurt college. We're going to hurt high school football.
Yeah.
And so somebody has to really say, what's the best thing for this sport? And so what I think you're going to see on a national basis are more rules and more federation by sport. This is good for football. Okay, let's do it. This is good for basketball. Okay, let's do it. This is good for field hockey. Okay, let's do that. They don't all have to be the same. But that's going to be a cultural change for those of us that have been in the business a while. We're not used to that. It's one rule that applies to everybody. We're realizing now that doesn't work.
UNC Athletic Director Bubba Cunningham joining us live here on Culture State. Speaking of the NIL for the student athletes, what are you all allowed as an athletic department to do in terms of providing financial advisement? Are you allowed to teach kids about, hey, this is what you have to do in terms of paying taxes? You can set up an LLC. How are you helping these kids financially protect themselves, honestly, from themselves? Because, I mean, when I was 18 years old, I was a college lacrosse player. If someone dropped $100,000 on me, I'm like, hey, guys, what are we doing?
Going to the club.
Yeah, exactly.
We're in Charlotte tonight, baby.
Exactly.
We're in Uptown.
Like, hey, let's go on a cruise. Like, I'm probably blowing that money. But how can you all help?
Probably got that $100,000.
No, I didn't. I was a Division III athlete, so no, it would all go under my tuition. But my point is, how can you help these athletes when it comes to just their financial advisement? And we see pro athletes go broke. How can you help these college athletes prevent that from happening?
We have spent the last year spending a lot of time with our staff, spending time teaching and coaching our student athletes, educating student athletes. We provide financial education. We provide a lot of those services. But I will say that the top student athletes have agents. So they're working with agents today, which is permissible. And a lot of the high school kids, a lot of the kids that we're recruiting come in with agents. So the best ones are getting a lot of really good advice. And so we have some alums that are working with our student athletes as well. We also have faculty on staff. We have a legal aid part of campus that's working with our student athletes. So the educational piece is there. And one of the plus sides of NIL is they're starting to learn how to do business transactions. They're trying to learn some things. We hate that it's accelerated, but it does give them a great learning opportunity. And some of our students have been incredibly successful. They form their own businesses. They have their own merchandising lines. They have relationships with companies. They have internships. They have all those things. But I do share your concern that some aren't prepared for it.
Yeah.
And, and it will affect their financial aid over time. You mentioned some are partials. As you get more income, that potentially could affect your Pell Grant.
Yeah.
It could affect your financial aid. So we have to be very cognizant of that and work with them very closely.
Yeah, because football, head count sport, basketball, head count sport, but lacrosse, soccer, some baseball, these are not head count sports. Like, you may only get a third of your scholarship paid from athletics. The other 2/3 might be coming from academic or other sources. So yeah, those things could all impact us.
That's why I think we're going to get to that federation by sport.
Yeah.
Because those head count sports are different. There's only a handful of them. You mentioned a few. There's a couple others. Volleyball, there's women's tennis, there's gymnastics. And so those are the ones that if you get a scholarship, it's a full scholarship.
Yeah.
But on top of that, you're going to get cost of attendance. You might get some Alston money. You might get room and board check because you may be living off campus and you may provide all your meals. So a lot of students do get a lot of money in their pocket. Plus, you may qualify for a Pell Grant. But as you generate that income, some of those other resources you may put at risk.
Yeah.
North Carolina AD Bubba Cunningham joining us right now. We're here for the ACC Championship game, but in 2 years, of course, we're going to have the CFP expansion. This game is going to mean a lot more. So if North Carolina gets back to this game in 2 years, they're here in Charlotte preparing to play against whatever team. There's a berth to the CFP on the line right there. What are your thoughts on how that also, we talked about how the university has helped out with the success of football, but how does the CFP also help out the success of the ACC and schools like North Carolina and NC State and Duke who may have a chance to go for a national championship because of everything expanding?
It creates great opportunities. And I think the more opportunities we can provide students, the better. And you want to go into a football season, basketball season, or any of the others with hope to win a championship. Sorry about that.
That's how the ACC feels about you right now.
That was Matt Rhule. The spirit of Matt Rhule came and hit me in the head. Stop talking that junk about me. Okay, sorry.
So the expansion is going to be helpful because when you only have 4 spots, it's really hard for people to say, why are we doing this? We don't even have a chance to make the national tournament. So basketball with 68 teams, every conference has my winner's going to be in the tournament, and then we're going to have a bunch of at-large. I mean, if I had it my way, I would love 16 teams in.
Okay.
Guarantee every one of the every one of the FBS conferences, give them 1 spot, 6 at-large. Now, that may not work. It may be too many games, but it gives everybody hope at the start of the season.
Yeah.
I've been at a couple of schools. I've been at Ball State, been at Tulsa, and said, at the beginning of the year, you don't have much hope because you'd have to absolutely run the table and get lucky. But if you can win your conference and have a chance, then I think that's going to inspire more schools to invest more in those sports programs.
You mentioned that if that eventually does expand, because I have a feeling 12 is not going to be the end. That's just my gut feeling. I feel maybe it's in 8 years, it might expand to 16, like you mentioned, and have those at-larges. But you look, Chris and I, we were talking with you before we came back with you live. The state of North Carolina as a whole, football this season has been great. But could you imagine?
It's been a great year.
Could you imagine, for example, if North Carolina, if NC State, one of those two wins a championship and gets an at-large,
Appalachian State,
ECU out of the American, Appalachian gets in. You could have 4 teams in the state of North Carolina potentially playing in a college football playoff. For us in this show, that would be awesome. But you're also looking at having a home game at Keenan. Right. In a college football playoff, something that has never happened before. Home games in a college football playoff, that could happen. That has to be exciting for you.
It is, and that's why I think we have to continue to look at it. We don't have a lot of parity in college athletics.
Yeah.
The pro leagues are designed for parity.
Yeah.
They have salary caps. They draft. What we have is unlimited spending, basically. Mm-hmm. Whatever you can generate, you can spend on your program. So when you look at what's happened in the college football playoff, I don't know if these numbers are exactly right. I think they're pretty close. But 7 years college football playoff, 4 teams per year, 28 slots.
Yeah.
22 of the 28 have been occupied by 5 teams.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you don't have parity. So if you want parity and you want competitive equity and you want more teams engaged, then you have to expand the playoff and make that happen.
We're a lot of people are talking about not only that, but the TV rights deals and the money that is potentially on the line, that is on the line. You look at the new deal for the Big Ten. SEC could be getting a lot more money coming up. ACC, well, a lot of people are locked in place until 2036. Do you think the CFP kind of helps potentially keep the ACC in place long term and makes other conferences have a little bit more, I guess, relevance nationally?
Yeah, we have a great league, and it's really good for this league. And I do think CFP will help keep everybody together because it does give you that opportunity.
Sure.
And with 12 spots, not just the ACC, but many of the other leagues, just say, we're going to get in this. We're our top 12. And I think if you went back the last 7 years, I think North Carolina would have been in twice. And I think that's a good thing for us. So yeah. I think it's good for college sports to have more teams involved. And that's what I think as leaders of the industry, we need to think about creating those opportunities, maintaining opportunities, and even expanding them as the commercial activity continues to grow.
Do you think, this is my final question, with the college football, you have to get a top 4 bye, you have to be a conference champion. Is this going to force Notre Dame to join the conference full-time with football? I'm serious.
We're asking them the hard-hitting questions.
I'm serious. Like, because here's the thing, honestly, if you're Notre Dame, you're sitting there saying, well, for us to get a bye, we have to be in a conference. Hey, you're already every other sport you're with the ACC. Why not football? They did it 2 years ago and they got to the college football playoff.
You running for commissioner?
Dennis Cox for ACC commissioner.
We can.
Right. Well, certainly, and I will say that the CFP selection committee has honored conference champions.
Yeah.
And they look very closely at that. So while it's not an automatic, they do value it. And I think that's 1 or 2 of the top criteria in the selection process. So I think it's worked very well. But certainly Notre Dame and the ACC that 1 year was good for our league. It was good for them.
Got 2 teams in.
It'd be great to have them on a full-time basis with everybody. But, that's obviously their decision.
For stopping by, but also our friend Daht. Been on the show a lot, and he's been with us a lot. But the one thing he hasn't done, Dennis.
What's that?
He has not met Fake Matt Rhule.
Does he plan on coming back to Charlotte ever to visit? Does he have any friends here to visit, or is he just through with Charlotte altogether?
Here's the thing. At the end of the day, Daht.
Right.
It's Daht.
It's Daht. Right.
For me, I'm actually going to be in Charlotte this weekend. That's the thing because every game I've ever coached at Bank of America Stadium, a team has won.
Right.
And there'd be 2 winning teams that are playing there today. So,
right.
So me having been here, there's going to be more winning at Bank of America Stadium because I'm going to be here today.
I love the way you put yourself with all the positives that happen there. You never really associate yourselves with the negatives. How are you able to do that?
Well, here's the thing at the end of the day, Daht, is that, I never make unilateral decisions,
right.
Everything is the culture, but,
right.
the success and everything I have there, I was responsible for all that. So,
right.
The wins that we've been having lately, again, a team has always won a game at Bank of America Stadium.
That's a good point.
Whether I've been there or not, teams have won there, and I helped build that.
Can I ask one last question?
Go for it.
Because you always talk about the end of the day. Let's talk about the beginning of the day. What's going to look like at Nebraska?
At the beginning of the day, as one day ends, one day begins. And that's the thing. And for us,
right?
We're going to be going back at the end of the day and see what we are. So as the day begins, we're focusing on the end of the day.
Right.
Can I ask a question really quick though? Like with that, you are the Cornhuskers. Again, you've talked about this online, but how does the spirit of the Corn help you coach your team?
You know, that's the thing about Corn, Chris. Yeah, can I call Chris?
Call me Chris.
Yeah, at the end of the day, at the end of the day, I like to think of a corn. You can have corn on the cob.
Yeah.
Right? You get some sweet corn, you get some white corn, some yellow corn, some some the multicolored corns. You get the candy corn. The popcorn. Really let it pop. You get some cream corn, whether it's frozen from a can, whatever it is. You can throw it on a grill. You can roast it in the oven. So at the end of the day, I really want our corn to pop though. At the end of the day, and that's something that I really do want is because when we pop on the field, when we pop on tape, when our recruits really pop on campus, we want them to really pop in the community. We want them to pop pads in practice. Pop pads in practice. At the end of the day, we want that pop. That's really what I'm looking for. And we want to be just like popcorn.
Do you hold the remote control in your right hand or left hand when you're reviewing film?
Yes.
Okay.
Versatility is key. That's something that I found is that you got to be able to attack from multiple sides.
Versatility is key. Matt, we thank you.
We thank you so much.
Can we ask you about the importance that you've placed on the Carolina Panthers and the house that you built just down to our left, Bank of America Stadium on 800 South Mint Street?
There's a lot of success that's happening over there. Even guys, I rather focus on, I was going back and that's what someone going to do at Nebraska, really being Coach Matt. And I like seeing some of the guys that have had success under me having success in other places. When I see like the San Francisco 49ers win football games, because Christian McCaffrey's there. Like, what? I'm responsible for that.
Right.
And so I like to see all these guys are having success, really do those things. And then, that's something I'm very, very proud of because I helped build that. I helped build the 49ers.
You're a very strong man, very wise man. I think Nebraska, the team that I remember being when they were the best, when they ran that power I formation. Like, what type of offense do you think you'll implement in Nebraska? Like, will you be high power offense or mainly defense? What are you going to do, Coach?
At the end of the day, we're going to go back and we're going to check the tape and see what kind of players that we have because as I build the staff, put things together, I really want to see what the players we have. But again. No matter if we're I formation or a power team, we're going to spread things out. We're pushing the ball down the field. We're really running the football. Is that we still want to pop? At the end of the day, like we want to pop. We want to be just like popcorn.
Pop and pad in practice.
We want to pop offense.
Exactly. We're going to pop, whether it's a pop pass, the little pop passes. Whether it is want to do it. That's what we're going to do. We're really going to pop out there.
Man, Daht, thank you for joining us, man. This was hilarious.
Yes, I've been wanting to meet Coach Fake Matt Rhule for weeks now. That was amazing.
All right, we want to thank Bubba Cunningham and Daht, probably the two biggest North Carolina fans right now in the world. Thank them for joining us. And it was, I think we had a really good time down in Charlotte, especially doing the show live there. It was, we both talked about it after it was over, some of the best fun we've ever had in our career. Yeah. And so that was a highlight day for us both. I can't wait for us to potentially do it again. Hopefully get a chance to do that again next year.
Hey, you never know what's going to be in the cards for us. But yeah, that was some of the most fun I've ever had on air. It was honestly like you say, we talked about this. It was doing it with you, man.
Pause.
It's been a pleasure.
Yes, it was great, man. For sure. Absolutely. One of the things that we have a bonus for some of the people out there. If you were watching us last year on Culture State, we stopped around this time.
We did.
But we have 2 more weeks with you this weekend if you want to pay attention to us on Culture State Saturday. We will be back on the 10th and also on the 17th. 17th, I will be on the road at the Celebration Bowl, so I'll be live in Atlanta. Yeah. While Dennis is in Raleigh. And so it's still going to be a good time. Don't worry. It's going to be an amazing time. And, we just want to add you with that. And stay tuned. You never know when there could possibly be more after that.
Stay tuned. Make sure you like and subscribe us here on YouTube. Elbow drop that subscribe button. Follow us at Culture State Pod. Follow him at Chris Lee TV. Follow me at The Fan Rookie. We'll see you around.
Hey yo, we do it for the culture. Home of the greats, in Carolina, good from the culture state. Dennis Cox and Chris Lee about to dig in the crates. So turn it up, cause it's time for the culture state. Yeah, we do it for the culture. Home of the greats, in Carolina, good from the culture state. Chris Lee and Dennis Cox about to dig in the crates. So turn it up,
Let's
it's
go.
time for the culture
Welcome.
state.
It's a Carolina state of mind. No other state you can find with a history that's quite like mine. See, we bred from royal lines. Queen cities and towns of kings, so of course we destined to shine. We a culture full of prestige.